Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia and this is your weekly dose of mindful tarot coaching. 3 questions, 6 cards, several interpretations. As always, I encourage you to pick up what resonates and create your own meaning. Given that this is going to be a collective general reading, it has its limits, and therefore it is especially important that you follow your own gut feeling and create out of this your very personal narrative and story. All right, then, these are the rules, and now we can get to the point. Well, before I dive into the next week's reading, I would like to very quickly recap the current week for several reasons. Reason 1 is that it is always a very good idea to check in with the cards, especially approaching the end of the week, in order to make sure you don't miss anything. And reason 2 is that the message of the cards is going to be very similar to those from last week, which I guess is not a coincidence. The tarot is very cheeky and very funny, and it likes to remind us to the lessons that we are not ready to accept and embrace for the first time. So I guess this is one of the reasons why we keep on getting the same message. Well, again, the message is going to be similar. However, the way is going to be a bit more turbulent, as you will see soon. So fasten your seatbelt and let's get started. Well, if I have to sum up the next week in 3 bullet points, I would say renewal, new foundations, and responsibility. And the main significator of the week is the Judgment. It can be familiar given that it has been popping up in the recent 2-3 weeks, and therefore I am kind of getting bored of this card. However, it is still the card of renewal and rebirth. It is about moving on, change, and leaving the past behind in order to move on towards new horizons. A very important part and aspect of this card is first looking back, taking a look at what happened so far, why it happened, recognizing the patterns in your past, putting the story, the narrative together, and this way making peace with it so that you can release it and move on. As you can see, there are these figures on this card getting out of the box literally, and this is a very great illustration because this is indeed a very important aspect this week, getting out of your box, thinking out of your box. I think this because it is backed by a reversed 8 of Swords. The 8 of Swords is the card of self-limitation. You can see this blindfolded figure here being very restricted, very limited. And indeed, this is what this card is about. It is about feeling limited, feeling restricted, thinking that you have no options, no choices, and therefore feeling accordingly kind of shitty. Well, the good news is that it is a self-imposed restriction. So it means that if you are ready to change your mind, and if you understand that you don't have to believe everything you think, then you can free yourself from it. And if you are ready to take off this ribbon of your eyes, you will also see that actually you do have options. Even if you think or if you feel that those options are not quite great, still you have A, you have B, so indeed you still have some freedom. Given that this card has come up reversed, I assume that we are going to have the opportunity next week to slightly move out of this restricted position, right? So if I put these 2 cards together, I say Actually, this is a very positive note because we are going to have the opportunity to leave our cage, right? So to get out of this cage and move on towards more freedom and new horizons. Well, in case we are not ready to answer this calling from the angel and follow this, life is going to make sure that we are forced to do so, because in the opportunities and risks column we have a tower. And you may know that the tower is also about renewal, change and transformation, but in a slightly different way, as we have seen here, because the tower is always about a very turbulent change. It can be very stormy, as you can see. It can be about a sudden upheaval, a sudden revelation, and it can also signify a situation when something is literally collapsing. And the reason for that is that it has reached its limits and therefore it has to go. We talk here about concepts, beliefs, illusions, but also sometimes complete life situations that do not serve you anymore and therefore they have to collapse. This is not a pleasant wellness experience. It is more often than not very painful, very stressful and so on. However, again, remind yourself that this serves you in the long run because again, it has reached its limits. Given that we talk about a week's context here, I am not sure that it is going to be really a tsunami in your life, so something really big happens. It can be also a simple aha moment when you finally realize and understand something, right? Again, this is going to serve you. However, a very important aspect of this card, which I feel is going to be important, is the new groundings, the new foundations. And I think so because we have here, as a complementary card from the Minor Arcana, a reversed King of Coins. And the King of Coins is normally about solid foundations, solid groundings. It is about money, wealth, abundance, capitalism, patriarchism, and a lot of other things. You can seek out your own interpretation. And accordingly, it can be about business, abundance, I don't know, finally finding a good job and the like. So it can mean a lot of things. However, given that it has come up reversed, I would assume that those things may be out of balance. So maybe this week is not going to be the best opportunity for making your millions and the like. This is also a possible interpretation. However, a much more interesting interpretation is, getting back to the tower, is the shaking, the collapse of those solid groundings, which this card can also stand for. So if I put these two cards together, I have a very, very strong feeling that something is going to be shaken to the ground, right? And therefore, again, it can be literally shaky accordingly. Please remember that even if it's unpleasant, it is going to serve you in the long run. And now, last but not least, let's take a look at the advice of the cards. And the advice is delivered by a reversed Justice, which can be also familiar because this card also pops up recently. The Justice is about karma, the law of attraction, cause and effect. It is also about your core beliefs and concepts about life that are working as a self-fulfilling prophecy. Therefore, this card is also very much about your concepts, your illusions, your beliefs, and a very interesting reference back to this card. And it is also about growing up and taking responsibility for your own life. Given that this card has come up reversed, it is here a very strong invitation for taking a look at your situation and ask yourself, what did I do or say so that this is where I am has happened? So putting into other words, in what ways did I contribute to the situation as it is? So in what way am I responsible for the current situation, right? This is going to be a very, very important invitation in this case. And on the other side, it is also a warning sign to make sure that you are not judging yourself and others too hard, but you accept where you are in this point, because this is going to be the very, very first step towards change. So accept where you are at the moment and be okay with this, because everything else would be useless. And also to understand again your own responsibility. And last but not least, if I take this card in its reversed position as an invitation for getting back to the previous card in the sequence, I will end up with the Wheel of Fortune, which is, amongst others, is also about taking responsibility for your own actions, because it also reminds us that the wheel is spinning all the time and what goes around comes around, right? So here we go again, and here is the law of karma again. All right, this card is completed by a reversed Eight of Wands, which is about the flow of life. It is about the raw flow of energy. So every time these cards show up, you can expect a lot of things happening at the same time like this. And this is actually a good thing, because finally a lot of energy is coming into your life, propelling towards your goals. Well, the bad news is that this card has come up reversed as well. And therefore, it is again an invitation to fasten your seatbelt, because it reinforces the message of the Tower that turbulent times are coming. So make sure you are staying grounded, make sure you slow down, make sure you don't take on too much on yourself. And last but not least, if I take it as an invitation for getting back to the previous card, in this case I will end up with the Seven of Wands, that invites us as well to stay persistent, to stay on the ground, and to make sure that you stand tall and fight for yourself, right? All right then. Now, last but not least, let's take a look at the whole constellation and wrap this up quickly. Just a second. Okay, so next week we are going to have the opportunity for rebirth and renewal and getting out of our cage, which is built of our self-limiting beliefs. And in case we are not ready to answer this call from the angel ourselves, life will make sure that we are forced to do so, because something shaking may happen that really distracts the groundings of our being, of our certain situation. So change is coming anyway, make sure you don't resist. And our job or task is going to be this week is to realize our own responsibility in a certain situation, to take a look at our self-limiting beliefs that are not serving us anymore, and to make sure that we take this responsibility and that we also change those beliefs that are not serving us anymore. I can give you some questions that are worth of thinking of and asking yourselves. In what way have I contributed to the situation that I am finding myself in? What self-limiting beliefs do I have? And what if I started to believe the opposite of something from tomorrow? In what way would it change my life? These are interesting questions to ask yourself. I will ask myself those too. And to sum this all up in one sentence, the price of change will be to understand and take responsibility in the situation and to let go of old beliefs, so-called truths. Well, this is of course my interpretation, but I am super curious about yours. You can write about it in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for showing up. Thanks a lot for being here. See you next week again. Till then, stay healthy and take care of yourselves. Ciao.